The night deepened. The sky turned red that night. Not the orange red you see during sunsets, but blood red, like something had ripped the heavens apart. I was sitting outside my uncle's shop in Ilupeju, waiting for him to finish counting the day's money. That was when I saw her. She dropped from the sky like thunder, her body glowing faintly, the air around her crackling with a strange energy. She was tall, taller than most people around here, and her hair moved like it had a life of its own. At first, I thought it was one of those YouTube pranks, maybe a stunt for some Nollywood superhero movie. But then, I heard the screams. A man ran past me, clutching his arm like it was about to fall off. "It's them!" he shouted. "The hunters are here!" I didn't know what he meant, but my uncle quickly locked the shop, his face pale. "Toby, we need to leave," he said, grabbing my hand. I wanted to ask what was going on, but before I could, something massive landed on the roof of the next building. It was a creature, something straight out of a nightmare. Its body was covered in black scales, its eyes glowing yellow. It let out a low growl that sent shivers through my bones. "Run!" my uncle screamed. We sprinted, but the streets were chaotic. People were running in every direction, some screaming, others frozen in fear. I didn't see where my uncle went. He just disappeared into the crowd. That was when I saw him, the man they called Ogun. He was standing in the middle of the road, shirtless, with a massive hammer slung over his shoulder. His skin looked like bronze under the red sky, and his eyes burned like fire. He didn't flinch as the creature leapt from the roof and charged at him. Instead, he swung his hammer, and the sound that followed was like a bomb going off. The creature flew backward, crashing into a parked car, but it wasn't done. It roared, shaking the ground beneath my feet. Ogun didn't say a word. He just tightened his grip on the hammer and walked toward it. I hid behind a broken-down Danfo bus, peeking out to watch. My legs were shaking, but I couldn't look away. That's when I noticed her again, the woman who fell from the sky. She wasn't alone now. 3 others had joined her. A man with silver markings running down his arms, a girl who moved so fast she was a blur, and another guy who seemed to control the wind. Together, they faced off against the hunters, those monstrous creatures tearing through our streets. "You shouldn't be here," someone said behind me. I turned to see a boy about my age, maybe a little older. His face was serious, his clothes covered in dirt. "They're not fighting for us," he said. "They're fighting for themselves." "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. "They're protecting something," he said. "Something the hunters want. But if they fail..." He didn't finish the sentence. The battle raged on. The woman with the glowing body raised her hands, and lightning shot from her palms, striking 2 hunters at once. The guy with the silver markings slammed his fists into the ground, and pillars of earth erupted, sending more creatures flying. But the hunters were relentless. For every one that fell, 2 more seemed to take its place. And then, it happened. A hunter broke through their defenses. It didn't go for them. It went for the crowd. It was fast, faster than anyone could react. I thought I was done for. But then, the girl, the blur, appeared in front of me. She grabbed the creature by its throat and slammed it into the ground so hard the earth cracked. She turned to me, her eyes glowing white. "Get out of here," she shouted. I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were glued to the ground. The battle lasted for what felt like hours, but it was probably just minutes. By the time it was over, the street was in ruins. Buildings were reduced to rubble, cars were flipped over, and the air smelled like smoke and burnt metal. Ogun and his team stood in the middle of the destruction, breathing heavily. The hunters were gone, or maybe just defeated for now. I thought it was over. I thought we were safe. But then, the woman, the one with the glowing body, looked directly at me. Her eyes softened, but there was something else in her expression. Regret. They'll come back, she said, her voice low but steady. They always do. And just like that, they vanished. One by one, they disappeared into the night, leaving us to pick up the pieces. I found my uncle hours later. He was safe, thank God. But the shop was gone. Everything was gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what the boy had said, about them not fighting for us. What were they protecting? Why were the hunters after them? I don't have the answers. Maybe I never will. But one thing's for sure, that night changed everything. The world isn't what we thought it was. There are forces out there, powers beyond our understanding, and they're not done with us yet.